The galactic archive contained records of 1,000 fallen civilizations. Each one had attempted to conquer Earth. Each one had left behind the same cryptic warning, carved into stone or transmitted before their extinction: do not underestimate their children. What they call games are survival training. Historian Veltok studied the warnings with growing dread. The most recent warning came from the Exorthane Empire, destroyed 15,000 years ago. Before their annihilation, they had sent a single transmission: we sent our elite warriors to subjugate their world. They were defeated by creatures barely past their childhood. The humans were playing. Now, the unified coalition was preparing for invasion. They were convinced the warnings were exaggerated, the remnants of failed civilizations making excuses for their defeat. The coalition's supreme commander Krelash dismissed the warnings during the final briefing. Primitive species, he declared. Their technology is millennia behind us. Yes, ancient empires failed, but they were weak. The warnings are nothing but fear-mongering from incompetent predecessors. When the first human child appeared on the battlefield, a 10-year-old girl with scraped knees and a determination in her eyes, the coalition soldiers actually laughed. She was small, soft-skinned, and completely unarmored. She was playing a game called Capture the Flag with a group of other children. The soldiers watched from their advanced positions, confused. The humans seemed completely unaware of the military presence. They were simply playing. Then one of the human children, a boy no more than 12 years old, scaled a vertical cliff face that should have been impossible to climb. The human soldiers watching took notes. The coalition observers realized with creeping horror that the children were not simply playing. They were systematically training every conceivable survival skill. Over the next hours, the coalition watched as human children engaged in activities that revealed alarming capabilities. A group playing tag demonstrated pursuit and evasion techniques that rivaled military training programs. Their ability to predict movement patterns, to use environmental obstacles strategically, and to sustain cardiovascular exertion in extreme conditions was extraordinary. Children playing King of the Hill displayed combat tactics, formation awareness, spatial positioning, momentum management, and the ability to coordinate with teammates under pressure. Falls that would have crippled most species seemed to merely bruise human children before they resumed fighting. A dodgeball match showcased reflexes, hand-eye coordination, threat assessment, and rapid tactical decision-making. The children threw projectiles with accuracy and force, practiced defensive maneuvers, and demonstrated situational awareness that seemed superhuman. Rock climbing, parkour, martial arts, competitive swimming, every single activity was a weaponized training regimen disguised as recreation. One coalition officer turned to Commander Krelash, his scales paling. "Sir, these are not games. This is systematic combat preparation." Krelash dismissed him, but the warnings were echoing now in the collective mind of the coalition forces. The dead empires had learned the hard way what the humans seemed to understand instinctively: on Earth, childhood was not a period of vulnerability. It was a crucible. When the coalition finally attempted their invasion in earnest, they sent their elite soldiers to a human settlement. What greeted them were not the children, but adults who had spent decades perfecting skills learned on playgrounds and in forests. These were humans who had learned to problem-solve through games, to coordinate through sports, to assess risk through recreation. The coalition's invasion force was annihilated within hours. As the last transmission left Earth, broadcast across the galaxy to warn the next potential invader, a human military commander stood before a camera. Behind her, human children played in a park. They laughed as they chased each other, climbed trees, and tumbled across grass. "We know you're watching," the commander said calmly. "We know you're reading the warnings. We know you think they're exaggerated. They're not. Every game a human child plays is preparation. Every sport they participate in builds capability. Every challenge they overcome in their youth becomes muscle memory, tactical knowledge, and psychological resilience." She paused, watching the children play. On Earth, we don't have a separate military training system. We have childhood. By the time a human reaches adulthood, they have already endured more simulated combat scenarios than your elite warriors will see in a lifetime. They have trained with their peers since birth to survive, to adapt, to overcome. The camera panned to show thousands of children engaged in various activities across the settlement. To an untrained eye, it was simply wholesome recreation. But to anyone who understood warfare, it was something far more terrifying, a civilization that had weaponized joy itself. So please, the commander continued, tell the next empire that considers invading Earth, we don't need to prepare for war. We've been preparing since we could walk. Every scraped knee is a lesson. Every game is a battle. And every child who plays is becoming a warrior. The transmission ended, and was automatically forwarded to every star system in known space. In the Galactic Archive, a new warning was added to the list: Earth's greatest strength is not their weapons or their technology. It is their understanding that survival training must begin before consciousness fully forms. Do not invade. Do not underestimate. Do not ignore the laughter of their children, it is the sound of an empire preparing for war. The warnings now numbered over 1,000. And still, somewhere in the galaxy, a new empire was preparing to invade Earth, convinced that the warnings were merely propaganda.